The mashup engine. Power BI's mashup engine. It takes some time to get used to. But what are the main lessons we need to remember? Alright lads and lasses, welcome along. Weekend work. What I wanted to look at today was the mashup engine. Power Query and the query editor in Power BI, and of course the same editor that's there in Visual Studio if you want to go down that road, is very capable. The way it works though is by taking data and building a script. And there's some nuances and subtleties within that can cause confusion, that can take just some time to get used to. So I thought let's scan through and have a look at some core rules that we need to remember when we're doing our query editing. Alright, so here we are in the query editor. First thing, rule number 1. Okay, width is the enemy. Flat files, things like that, right? Large SQL queries, anything from a database, an ERP system, all that kind of thing. You'll often find the views that you get or the queries that you get will come through in a format that they're the enemy as far as this is concerned. And that's one of the reasons why you'll see a lot of the projects that we're looking at, especially as we're dealing primarily with this channel around like the entry point in the early stages, you're going to have a base, and we call it base for a reason. It's the foundation, the bedrock on what you're going to build your data model on, right? So in this case, we've got this big wide table all the way along here, right, with different one, all that, right? Most of it we aren't going to use. So it then gets split out into the true dimensions that you're going to need, right? And dimensions are 2, right? Point number 2, dimensions. You need to stop thinking in terms of, I'm going to do VLOOKUP, so I'm going to do this. Anytime you would look, I'm going to do a VLOOKUP, right? It's the dimension. Right? You're talking about dimensions there. What we really want to have is we need to get to the point in the understanding that we've got facts, so things that have happened, right? And dimensions, so, and they involved. Yeah, so a fact is something that happened, and the dimensions are what it involved. So a sale took place, that's a fact. It involved this customer, these customers, it was done by this sales agent, it was of these products. Yeah, facts and dimensions. You need to be comfortable with that idea, okay? You might not like the idea of facts and dimensions, but if you think things that happen and what it involves and separate those two, you'll find it works. Because invariably the what it involves is a multiple. Yeah, so a customer can buy many things from you. A product will hopefully sell more than once, right? Does that make sense? So those are kind of key things. So remember, we've got the idea that we need less is more, narrow down our data, narrow down our tables. The third one I want to mention, and it's one that we've got a little bit in here, well, we've got in here, right, is of course your calendar, okay? The key dimension, one of the biggest dimensions that you're going to find and come across is your calendar table, okay? I recommend getting a calendar table that you're comfortable with and reusing it as much as possible. If it's a business, standardize your corporate calendar, right? Put it into a data flow, make it available to all, right? Get everyone using that same calendar. Things like that go a long way towards standardizing your whole analysis process and making it all work more effectively for you. Number 4, date, time. Just say no, okay? Chosen this data set because we're doing some process mining with it. Right, process mining, we need to use a date time field. But, okay, that's about the only time we want to see date times. You can't join on a date time effectively, okay? It just, practically, it doesn't work, right? So just don't. because you won't have your calendar table, you need to be using a date to join with it. And then it becomes just like every other dimension, because you're going to do many sales in a day, aren't you? Yeah. Right? So date time is a no. And if we look at these, what you see is we've got the number, and that's what the join is going to be on. And we've got a narrow data set for this process mining data. It's deliberately built and structured for it. In this case, we used it with 2 different samples. So we've got 2 different ways of doing it. But the core piece is, this is the way it is built. There is no variation to it. It's that narrow data set, and the join is on this number rather than the date time being used for anything. All it's going to be used for effectively is by our process mining engine to calculate the duration. Okay. Now else, because it's calculating a duration though, you could look and you could say, well, we could simplify this. We could keep just like the hours and minutes. Would probably be fine for 90% of our processes that we would look to process mine. Yeah, hours and minutes is generally going to do it. And the order of magnitude that you're going to get back in terms of file size and storage space requirements is huge. Which brings us on to 5, the last piece, granularity of your data. Okay, you must, absolutely must always be aware of granularity and what you are doing where. What do I mean by granularity? Yeah, so if we're talking days, like what daily sales measure, it's pointless then for somebody to come to me and say, well, what happened at 2 o'clock? I don't know, right? I'm not going to be able to tell you. Then we'd need the time measure, okay? Equally, if we're saying, I need me monthly sales, I don't know, okay? Things like that are areas that we need to be aware of. If we're going to say, I have to have time for something in my dimension trees, put time in as a separate dimension, right? And then we can do that and work through that. And then you have a date field and you have a time field. Keep the 2 separate. Got a video showing you about the differences between that. But you need to start to think through granularity, okay? If you're looking at regional sales and you've got region and country, and then somebody comes to you and says, oh, how many did we sell in that obscure city over there? You know, like, oh, UK sales, great, I've got the UK sales figures. How much did we sell in Newcastle? I've no idea, mate. We don't keep that information. So those are things to think through. Granularity, you potentially can add it, but you may find if you remove it too soon, it's difficult to put in without a major rework of the model. So UK sales, for example, can easily be built up from our figures for all our sales, or for, you know, customer address information. That might be what we use, or delivery, all that kind of thing, to work out where the sales are. There's no problem in having that, and then we can pull it together into an aggregated UK sales number, right? So granularity is key, but remember, the granularity that your model shows and that your model has may be different. So what do you reckon then? 5 simple tips to keep you going right with your Power Query work. Okay, we've got a lot going to go through in the next few weeks, and we're going to make the changes to the channel that are coming. And I need to really work with you to get you happy with the idea, because the changes that come to weekend work be announced next week probably, right? Significant. And what I want to be doing is getting to the point where we've got real understanding of what we do with the modeling side, and then what we need to do as we're looking into specific areas within Power BI as well, within the reporting layer. So, as always, don't forget, like and subscribe down below. Head on over to geordieintelligence.co.uk, become a member. For now though, take care, stay safe, ta-da.